All right, so in this video, I'm going to do a brief rundown of the bulk ops sheet, and this is the formatted version of your bulk ops file. After you run through the initialization sequence, you get these extra rows, and I just want to give you kind of a overview summary of a lot of these bulk actions and filters and what they do and how powerful they are. You don't have to use a lot of these in between, optimization sequences, but they are handy if you are trying to either increase your sales or maybe reduce your ACOS. There's different kind of applications for each one. So I guess first off, in the last video, we optimized our bids for the first time, and I went over this column AN is always going to be our original bid that is assigned when we first import our bulk file. It just essentially makes a duplicate copy of that column. And then this AG in red is what our new calculated bid is going to be based on our either SKU inputs, or if we've got overrides set in our bid override table, they'll be assigned accordingly. And it also depends obviously on which optimization of the three you pick. But as far as the new columns, this single SKU column, the one SKU column AC, it's pretty handy. You can clear that out and say I want to see all the targets associated with one SKU. It's going to give me just a quick rundown of those. Say you're running out of inventory in this SKU, for example, and I want to change these to all to paused, so I'm not running ads and spending money on them. You can come up here, and after you've filtered for that SKU, just head over to Optimize Bids, Adjust in Bulk, and you're going to get a handy little slide out calculator here that if I click visible status on this bid adjust down here at the bottom and I hit pause all, that's going to actually set all of those to paused really quick. So that's handy in just temporarily pausing a specific SKU. You can also make fine-tuned adjustments if, say, you've got a filtered criteria that you want to manually set based on these performance settings up here. You can always just then do the same type of deal, do fixed bids or select all visible bids. It's going to actually modify this column in that case, and you can set it to just a fixed bid. You can do a bulk increase or decrease off of the value that's set right now, or you can set it to your current cost per click. There's a couple different things you can do with that. I typically am using this tool mostly for this section down here though, but just kind of know that that's there, and this single SKU column is handy. This column AD, this column is important because it's a unique identifier for every row. So if you recall in the previous video, to get certain targets over to the bid override table, you actually are most concerned with these two columns here. You don't have to have this single SKU column, but it's nice because if it is a single SKU campaign ad group, it's going to give you this picture here. You can sort your bid override table by the SKU if you ever want to filter for just those. So best practice is to actually grab this block of data here if you want to take just those targets that are performing well over on your bid override table. Your percent of sales, this is nice because if we go and actually this show all, anytime you've got a filtered range, if you want to see everything again all at once, just click that show all. And then if we go back to our filters and click percent of sales sort, it takes into account that column AF, and it's actually going to give us a sorted range now that's going to show us all of the converting targets for each SKU and organize them in a way that if we just pick out one of these SKUs by themselves, so you get clear, and let's say like this one here, you'll see it's got a percentage there, so you can easily see which one's giving you 26% of your sales is this keyword here. If you total these up, these are going to be 100, as you see down here in the bottom right. So that's just a handy way if you ever want to kind of organize all your targets by percent of sales, you can do it through that. Some of the other filters we have are associated with the inputs on the settings tab. We already went over the top targets one in the previous video, but if you click this top conversion rate filter, it's going to basically look at what was on our top converting target filter on our settings screen and filter out anything that doesn't meet those thresholds. So you can see here we've got our conversion rate actually over here in column AK, and we could just as easy as we'd use the top performing targets, we could do a top performing CVR target range. And what's nice is you can like take these over to the bid override table, paste these guys in, and then again these are showing yellow because we don't have bid inputs assigned, but we would either assign a fixed bid or drag those down. And I missed one. And what I like to do in this case is say like top CVR, basically assign a tag and say greater than 8%, whatever your settings are, which you can see here is greater than 8%, less than 30% ACOS. So then when you come back here, you can easily filter by those, and when we import our metrics, it's going to pull in our metrics just for those targets. And you can see our converting CVR right now for these is, looks like all 100%. Yeah, so these are all 100%. So this is an easy way for your top converting targets, especially if they're in like multiple target campaigns, or maybe you have, you know, ad groups that have 50 keywords in them, but this one's just performing well for whatever reason, and you just want to make sure it gets its own, you know, aggressive bid. You put it on this table and keep a close eye on it, and you can adjust your settings accordingly. So that's a handy filter there. Similarly, you've got top of search placements. So if I click on that, I may or may not have any in this one. We'll have to see. This is really kind of arbitrary default demo data that I've put together. Okay, so it does look like I have a few. So if we go back here, we can see what it's telling us. So any of the top of placement filters is going to be 2 times the orders on against the second placement, which would be, you know, your next highest placement for orders, and greater than a certain order threshold. So if we go back here, you can see everything for the, we clicked on the top of search. So let's see, top of search. So if we look, our top of search rows are going to be the second one down, second, third, and fourth. So these 3, if we, let's see, expand, mouse is boogering up. There we go. Campaign by placement, and then scroll over. You can see here's our top of search, rest of search, product placement. So all of these have higher top of search and more than 2 times the next highest, and more than 5. So these would be ones, again, you could take these specific targets, which are right here. I could put those on the bid override dashboard, and I could I'd be more concerned with the cost per click, which is over here, of the top of search placement, which in this case you can see is like 45 cents. And you bid that, you could set that as kind of a fixed override, or again, you could use the ratio settings as well, but that's just a quick way to kind of organize by placements. Similarly, you could do by product pages, whenever top targets, and then CVR. So these are kind of all things to quickly identify targets that might be good to put on your bid override dashboard is the main use of those. All right, so let's see. Going back here, I'm going to show all, and a few others I didn't cover. You have your all targets, all enabled targets, 0 impressions, conversions. You can do the same type of deal by just manually filtering some of these. If you've got campaign names that you've maybe identified as, I don't know, single keyword campaigns or defensive campaigns or branded campaigns, you can always search for those. You come over and you actually got to hit clear first, which is kind of odd. And then you search for a term and then hit select all. So I don't know if I've got, like, let's see, demo, and then I would hit select all and hit OK, and it would show me everything with the word demo in it. So after we do our bid optimization, if we click this review bid changes, it's going to actually show us all of the targets that have changed from our original bid column to our optimized bid column. And that's just kind of a quick gut check. You can scroll down through and kind of see what the new bid is set at, and you can kind of tie that back and make it make sense to your dashboard settings. Again, this data in here is all arbitrary, so some of these are not going to make sense at all, but just know that that's the functionality behind it. Here you've got a dupe checker, so this can be very valuable for keyword cannibalism. If you've got the same match type for the same SKU and you're bidding on the same targets, you're essentially bidding against yourself. There is some conspiracy theory out there to whether Amazon charges you more for that specific scenario, but I like to just play it safe and not have that scenario going on. So if you click that filter, it'll filter your bulk sheet in a way that if you look, you've got all your SKUs kind of organized in order, and then you've got all of the match types, which are right here, organized in order, and you've got your keyword there along with the metrics. So the idea is you would expand your keyword column, and then you can look and see, okay, I've got one order on this guy, and I'm looking here at the keyword. These are both the same keyword and the same match type, so I'm essentially bidding against myself. They're all enabled. So what you can do is go back to adjust in bulk and actually go through and hold in the control key, or I think it's maybe the command key on Mac, and select whichever one is not performing as well as the other. So it's kind of a tedious process, at least the first time till you get them all dialed in, but you get the point. You're selecting the ones that aren't performing as well, then you're going to hit pause all, and that'll actually go through and just pause the ones that you've selected. So then the next time you hit that dupe checker, because those are paused, then they won't be showing up as duplicates. So that's pretty handy. If we go back to show all, and we'll do the poor performers filter now, the way this one works is it's going to look at some set criteria off our settings page here, and it's actually the settings associated with this Stoptimizer tool, and we'll get to that in a future video, but that tool has to do with search terms as opposed to your bulk file. But we also have a filter set up for your bulk file that uses these same kind of poor performing terms, and it's basically saying if these thresholds are met, then it's going to reveal those targets, and they're all thresholds associated with 0 converting targets. This one has greater than 2,500 impressions and less than 0.18 click-through rate, higher spend than $15 without a conversion, and higher clicks than 15 without a conversion. So if you just want to, at a glance, see all the targets that meets that criteria, just come down here and hit poor performers, and you can just, I don't know, look at this on a maybe a monthly or weekly basis and just kind of make the decision. If you've got these targets that you've already spent maybe a set threshold on and they're still not converting and they're meeting this criteria, then they're probably not good targets. So you can go ahead and pause those or archive them, whatever you want to do. But same process, you're just focused on pausing the status column there, and that'll just hopefully reduce some wasted ad spend. Whenever poor performers, whenever dupe checker, override campaigns. So if you click that button, it's basically going to show you all of the rows associated with the targets that you have specified on the bid override table. And I've actually started using this feature now more to quickly navigate to the specific targets. And the main goal before was if I had a daily budget set low. You can see all these are showing 0 because I actually had my bulk file here pre-filtered for something. So you want to always make sure this is set to show all. Should probably make that default before you import your or sync your bid override metrics. So if I click that again, you'll see that these actually change to the campaign budget. And then the idea of either this find campaign target or the show override campaigns. If I click this, you'll see that it's just going to give me a filtered list then of what is on my bid override table. But it's not quite as useful because you still have to, if you've got a bunch of them on there, you've got to scroll down and find it. What's faster now is if you just click once on this, and you can either do it at it's going to jump to the campaign level, or it's going to, if you have a specific unique target and you come up here and click that, it's going to hop you back over to your bulk ops sheet and find that target and select the row. Sometimes you got to scroll down just a little bit, but you can see there's my row selected, and I can just bump up to the campaign row and see there's my $15 that's associated with this $15. So if you need to allocate more campaign budget, that's a good tool to use to do that. Went over the review bid changes already, and then the reset bids. All that's going to do is say you for whatever reason want to reset your max bid column to that original bid column, you can just hit that and it's going to overwrite back to the original bid. So, all right, guys, that's more or less what I wanted to cover in this video, just a brief rundown of some of the advanced filters and functionality of the bulk ops sheet. And in the next video, we're going to be going into more detail on some of the ad insights and just trying to give you a better understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. So see you on the next one. Thanks.